Let's talk about something raw and real, human nature, and the way we interact in social groups. One of the fastest ways to lose your peace, your power, and your momentum is expecting other people to behave like you would. We want to believe that everyone has good intentions, that if we're kind, we're honest, we're loyal and supportive, that others will meet us with the same energy. But that's not always how human nature works. Here's what I've learned, and I'm going to also share with you some things that are going to protect your peace, because protecting your peace is the number one priority when you're around other human beings. All right, I want you protecting your energy. I want you to remain composed, powerful, beautiful, happy, and strong no matter what comes your way. So let's get into this episode. I want to remind you that not everyone is quote unquote your people, and that's okay. Let me tell you, you're here, you're on this channel, you're listening to this content because there is something very special about you. You're a very magnetic person. You have been drawn to this content because you are type A. You are someone who is excelling in all areas of your life. And you're not just simply excelling in those areas of your life, you are putting in the effort. You are doing the work to make that happen. People can easily look at you and say, oh, it's going so well for her. She has it all. She has so many areas of your life look so perfect. And for you, they're getting there. But it's because you're doing the work. And let me tell you that not everyone is doing the work. Not everyone is. And so because of that, what you need to understand is that some people may look at you and they may not like to see the comparison between everything going so well. Well, what they can see surface level. Remember, it's all about optics. They don't have a clue what's going on in your life. They don't have a clue what challenges, hurdles, hardships, battles that you're facing away from everyone else. No one does. So it's all about the optics of it, isn't it? So you are not for everyone, and everyone is not for you. And that's something that you will need to work hard to understand. Because if you got this far in life, you certainly, there will be an element of actually caring what other people think. And most women are born and trained to be people pleasers. So when we are not pleasing people, we sometimes feel like we are doing something wrong. If you've got a really good dose of self-awareness and you try and conduct yourself in a positive way, but you're not necessarily going along with the crowd and like a sheep all the time, then you are going to stand out. There's no doubt about it. If you're somebody who is not fazed or still listens to their inner voice and still conducts their life in a way that it feels good to them, it aligns with your higher self, your higher vision, most people are not doing that. Most people are going along with the crowd. Most people are listening to what everyone else is doing, watching what everyone else is doing, interested in what everyone else is talking about. And that's where their attention is. But you're not for everyone, and everyone is not for you. You are very special in terms of where you've got to with your mindset and your personal development and who you're becoming. So I want you to stop trying to belong in rooms that drain you. Now, it's actually incredible how many clients of mine actually come to me and say that it's crazy, like the most talented, the most incredible, it's like I've noticed that people who are women especially are very talented, they have so much potential energy, but they're also very caring and kind, Those are the people that are absolutely draining themselves on a daily basis, because what they're doing is squashing who they are, and they're almost feeling like they've got nothing to share or nothing to, like, they don't want to be boasting about their achievements. They don't want to join in this bland, boring conversation and talk about all these amazing things that they have going on, because they don't want to make other people feel less than them. But I need you to stop trying to belong in rooms that drain you. You need to stop shrinking for approval. Your energy is very, very sacred. It is, it's your life force, and you've only got a finite amount of that in your body, and you've only got a finite amount of days, beautiful, so understand that. Save it for the people who see you, respect you, and uplift you. Now, I also want to make a point of sharing that you may, like me, have a philosophy that you like to treat everyone with love, kindness, care, and respect. At least on the first of a few occasions. You like to give people a really good chance, and you like to treat everyone the same. And that's really incredible. But you cannot expect other people to treat you how you would treat them. And this one stings, it hurts, I know. But let me tell you, I always had these high expectations of other people for so many years of my life. I would say, well, I'm doing all of these nice things, I'm being so kind, I'm doing this, I'm trying to rise above it. And still, they do not treat me like that. They don't return the favour. They don't, they don't have the same amount of respect, let's say. They behave in a totally different way. It could be various people I'm thinking of, but it was just silly things. And quite often, what you're not understanding is that so much of your disappointment comes from expecting to see you in other people. Well, other people don't need to be like you. Other people are not like you. Other people are like them. They've got their own motivations. They don't care about you. Their primary care and concern is themselves. And that's human nature. I'm just being straight with you. And that one hurted for me for so long, because I used to put every single person in the world before me. But when you let go of that expectation, when you actually let go and you think, well, they've got their own motivation, they've got their own life, why on earth should they be putting me on a par with them in their lives? If they don't want to be if they don't want to conduct themselves in the way I do, well, that's fine, that's up to them. We'll leave that to them. They're on their own path, their own journey, and that's that. Like, that's as far as it goes. Because when you stop and you actually let go of that expectation, you stop taking their behaviour personally. You detach, you stay in your power. And what I find really, really good and really a useful way of thinking of it is when people are not behaving the way that you would behave in a similar situation. For example, I'll give you a few examples. I've been in situations whereby people act completely out of character or how you normally see them. And when they do that, and when they've been triggered in some sort of way to do that, it can really throw you off, because you're like, wow, this person has, someone could absolutely pretty much explode in a social setting that you're not expecting. And in that situation, you can see it for what it is and be like, well, this is a social environment, that's not really appropriate. There's something must have gone on there. But when people are going over, I have seen in the past, and I have been pretty much shocked, but it's almost like, it's not shock as in, I can't believe they did that, I'm hurt. It's more like, can you actually, if you could only see you right now, the way you're behaving, you would be, like, if I could only show you right now, it would be amazing to you. And then in other situations, things, you need to learn from people. People will tell you a lot about themselves, not through what they say, but through how they act, what they do. Pay very close attention to your values. One of my strong values is, I do not like to talk about people. I do not like all that kind of bitchy stuff, gossip, rumours, all that. I don't like it. Okay, so when I'm in company and I hear that going on, I immediately turn off and will not add to the conversation about that person. And what really can shock me sometimes, it's really shocking. Sometimes the people who you see on the outside being the closest with certain people, they will still talk about them. And you can see why it's happening. I can see why it's happening. I'm not going to start psychoanalyzing situations, but you can see why it's happening. And yeah, maybe that people would like to feel certain approval in a certain group and they're looking for any sort of reason why or how to get there. Or it could be that maybe they're trying to dig you into the conversation so that again that can be carried back to the other person. You don't know. But if you're not treating people like that, that's another example for you. If you're not conducting yourself like that, and if you're not doing that, don't start now. Just because you're in someone else's company, it doesn't matter how much you like the person. It doesn't matter what opinion you had before. Just step back and let your inner voice guide you, because just because people are not going to treat you or others the way that you would expect doesn't mean that you need to drop your standards just because you're in a situation. Because in those types of situations, once you have gone against yourself in any way, if you've said the wrong thing, something that you're not, you weren't maybe happy to contribute to that conversation, or maybe you have acted or responded in a very out of character way, once that's happened, that can't be taken back. So what you need to understand is, and also in terms of just how you conduct yourself in general on a daily basis, just remember and be your highest self. But at the same time, if you're not getting the same reactions, if you're not getting the same response, you just need to understand that that's really totally irrelevant to you. And that's the way to see it. It is irrelevant, because people are never going to treat you the way that you would treat them. They're just simply not at that same point in evolution. Maybe they're more highly evolved in other ways than you, but that's just the way it is. So you just need to stop caring, essentially. It's about stopping caring. And I, unfortunately, learned to do that quite a while ago. So now I can do it. And I'm like, I see life as, it's just like me, my family, my children, we're at the centre of that life. I have to do my best for them. But then I'll be in all different social interactions on a daily basis, whether that be because I'm going, maybe running around doing errands, maybe I am doing all various things out and about in public, maybe I'm catching up, meeting friends, whatever I'm doing. But in other situations, any transactional situation, it could be like with random people that I've never met before, I'm not having any expectations of how people behave. I don't expect people to drive in a certain way. I don't expect people to behave in a certain way in response to me. People have their own stuff going on, and when people are acting in a certain way, or when people are triggered, it's quite obvious because people have emotional reactions when they're triggered. When that happens, you just need to be like, oh, you know what? That's so not about me. That's about them. Maybe they've seen something in me, or maybe they've seen something in someone else that's triggered that response, and that's all it is. That's all it is. Okay? You can trigger responses in people all the time, day in, day out, but it doesn't mean you have to dim your energy. It just means that you're going about your business, because you could be the catalyst for something amazing in them. You just haven't realised that. So, finally, I just want you to understand that trust is something that's earned, it's not automatic, and that's what I'm talking about in you and others. I mentioned earlier situations whereby you may lose trust in a certain person or people. You can love people, you can support them, you can cheer them on, you can like them, but you cannot hand out your trust just like that. Okay, that doesn't mean you should just hand over your trust to anyone based on a few interactions, or even if it's a very long-term situation. your vision for life, your vulnerability, all of these things, you don't want to just hand that over without discernment. And I'm talking about proper discernment. Don't get too close to people and just start sharing your whole life story and all the things. That's something I would never do. I do not share my life story with anyone. My husband is the only person in this planet, actually, who knows my whole life story. Nobody else knows my whole life story. Nobody knows what I've been through in life. And I don't intend on sharing that with anyone. And the reason I know that, and it's really sad to say that, but I don't trust people. I respect people. I show up and I be around people. I am a caring person. I'm full of energy around people. Okay, when that's a good idea, but I am not trusting of people. Because that's just the way, life experience has shown me that you can't actually trust people. That's it. People do not all have the same standards as you. And if people, you might want to comment below and say, that's really a sad way to live your life. But then tell me, if you're putting your trust in other people, not you, you've got no control over that whatsoever. And if you're putting your trust in other people, let me tell you, I know so many people who are trusting in others and they are being hurt because they're just thinking that, their best friend is, or their friend, their peer group, they're being so nice, they're being so kind, I'll share with them, they'll help me through this. And a few weeks later, they've spread that news everywhere. It's some people as well, we're not even going to go down that route, but some people just can't help themselves. They really can't. They can't help themselves but to take the information that maybe someone is giving them and spread it within the peer group because A, they feel that they're obligated to do so, or B, they feel like it's one way of them sort of ranking more highly in that peer group because they're like, oh, well, if I give this information, if I share that, then I'm the person that they can trust. That's quite sad, and I've seen so many friendship groups totally breaking up because of that. So you need to learn that people are not always to be trusted. Sorry, but it's true. When you are just putting your trust into random people, I'm sorry, that's really one of the worst things that you can do, because you need to reserve that for yourself and for the people that are very closest to you who you can really trust. Discernment is spiritual protection. Trust should be built over a long space of time through alignment and not just proximity. So here's your reminder. You're allowed to be kind. You're allowed to be loving, generous, and still have boundaries like a queen. And I'm going to tell you, it can be a bit lonely there because not in terms of your social group, and you've probably got loads of friends and social groups and all of that, but I mean lonely in the sense that not everyone's doing this. You can be kind, loving, loyal, you can be generous, but you still have to have your boundaries. That's the key. And that's what, have you noticed with anyone in royalty? I'm talking about Queen here. Have you ever noticed anyone in royalty, do they walk around like talking to everybody, sharing all their secrets? No, they don't. There is a certain demeanour, there is a certain veil. It is a protection mechanism. And I'm not talking about from a wounded place here, I'm just talking about from a survival point. You're allowed to be all of these amazing things. But there comes a point where that invisible cloak that you have protecting you senses this is time to stop. And not cold, not closed off, but wise, intentional, and the key word again, discerning. So I hope that this episode has helped you in relation to your interactions socially and being less vulnerable and maintaining your power and your strength, because that's what it's all about. And if you are ready to stop people pleasing, and if you're ready to start truly owning your worth and your energy, then it's time for the spark activation. The spark activation is a personalized session where I will walk you through exactly what has been draining your power and how to step into the version of you who holds that power unapologetically. So that is something that can really help you to move forward. If you don't have that supportive peer group behind you, if you don't have the contacts that you feel you can talk to, if you don't actually have the clarity on what's stopping you from moving forward and achieving your goals, your dreams and ambitions, and if you feel that there's something missing in terms of you being able to move forward without requiring approval from everyone else, then the spark activation is going to be something that's going to help you to just step into your higher self and just hold that power, that energy unapologetically, so you can just make quantum leaps forward. So I can't wait to see you in the spark activation and in the next video. So make sure you're liked, you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next one.